Hello! This is going to be part 2 of a previous video on flat earthers having their sweet, sweet tears collected by a black hole. Oh, those tears are so sweet. So sweet. If you listen carefully, you can almost hear them crying in the distance. Anyway, for today's video, we'll be reacting to two things. Firstly, some other flat earth channels have made videos regarding this black hole image of Messier 87. Second, Jake the flat earther has responded to me. You know, the guy who I responded to in my previous video. So we're going to be briefly looking at that. To start off, we have Gerundism here attempting to make an analogy between black holes and Gnar Holes, which is a made-up concept.
Gnar Holes, image coming soon. Now, of course, you guys have heard of black holes. This week, in fact, we were blessed with the very first real image of a black hole. Now, I did try and go out and image a black hole myself. I got everything lined up. I was looking south from where I live in Central California. As I zoomed out, I realized I was only looking at Snoop Dogg smoking a blunt in Long Beach.
This is part of a greater point he's making, essentially implying that you can't trust the existence of black holes because you can never see it for yourself, and you'd have to, dun-dun, rely on the words of authority. As inconvenient as this may sound, it's very obvious why you aren't able to produce an image of a black hole yourself. You don't have the technology to do so. Perhaps if you had the money to buy a bunch of massive telescopes situated around the Earth and knew the computer skills to translate radio waves, then maybe you would be able to. Actually, no, you wouldn't. You'd still need a lot of things, including an education. This stuff is overly advanced for regular people, much less flat earthers. And you know, it's not like NASA were the ones to do this. Sure, they helped out with their spacecrafts at some point, but the team was composed of the Event Horizon Telescope imaging team. Katie Bowman, for example, is a postdoctoral fellow at Harvard. You know, the girl who became an internet meme. The point is, there was a massive team of scientists who worked on this and weren't part of NASA. To think that a conspiracy can be this big and still be maintained is an outlandish idea, but it's not like this type of work is entirely closed off to the public. Scientists are just regular people, just like you and me. They got to their position through hard work. Anyone could be in that position. You don't need to be some government employee or NASA agent. Anyone could have been there to work on the black hole imaging.
Next, let's listen to a scientist who is actually involved in the imaging, who tells us, well, there's nothing to actually photograph. It's black and cannot be seen.
What's in the image is actually light that is produced by plasma around the black hole. It's true that we cannot see the black hole. It's black, so you cannot see it. It's true that we cannot see the black hole. It's black, so you cannot see it. Black, so you cannot see it. Black, so you cannot see it.
Literally in the same clip, she says, the image is actually light that is produced by plasma around the black hole. It's clear that you seem to know nothing about black holes since you don't know the concept behind imaging it. You can't directly observe the black hole because it absorbs all electromagnetic radiation, but you can see the light around the black hole and how it bends to conform to the black hole's gravity. That's basically what it is. So when scientists image the black hole, sure, it's not the black hole itself, but it's still, you know, the black hole. Depends on how you define the words photograph and imaging here.
What I want to discuss today is the latest in the many fantasies that people might conceptualize or imagine, and these are the highly debated Gnar Holes. Now, Gnar Holes exist in Narnia.
I'm going to spare you from watching any more of that video, and I'll just give you a gist on what he said. Basically, he brings up a non-existent concept of Gnar Holes and says, soon we'll be able to image them by placing telescopes around the world, all pointing inside wardrobes. Quite outrageous. Black holes have been mathematically calculated and indirectly observed to exist. Sure, we couldn't be 100% certain of their existence through that alone, which is why the recent image was so important because it confirmed that concept. But the point is, there's nothing like that for Gnar Holes. No mathematical calculations, no observations, nothing. Meanwhile, black holes had an entire field of physics revolve around it. I don't want to spend too much more time on this since we gotta get to Jake's response to me, so let's just skip over to that video. I won't be responding to the whole thing since Jake's video is more like an attempt to roast me for 20 minutes. Oh, and he also talks very slowly, so I apologize in advance for that.
Who the hell is Professor Stick? Yeah, exactly. Who the hell is Professor Stick? Meet Professor Stick, or as I like to call him, Professor Dipshit.
Wow, another unoriginal joke. Wow, I'm so impressed. Keep them coming.
Professor Stick is a cartoon stick figure. He is the creation of, I'm guessing, a 40-year-old virgin who's not only never been laid, but also has zero personality.
Ah, my heart! I'm so offended! Ah, the pain! Ah! Oh wait, no, I'm fine.
This 40-year-old virgin with no personality created a cartoon stick figure as his alter ego to push government propaganda and mainstream science, which he reads directly from Google and Wikipedia.
Okay there, you're trying a little too hard, don't you think? How about this? I'll concede to all your roasts if you can find a segment from Google or Wikipedia where I read from it word by word and recorded it. Until then, I'm going to skip the parts of your video where you just try too hard to offend me, because frankly I'm cringing a little bit from your pitiful attempts.
The 40-year-old virgin who created this cartoon stick figure has been riding my coattails for years. The Professor Stick channel has literally been making videos about me for years, going back to the well over and over and over again.
What can I say? I like going after low-hanging fruit. Yeah, because you sure have evidence that all the images and footage NASA gives are fake. Even back in 1969, when faking footage of the moon was basically impossible with current technology. Apparently, NASA employs time travelers.
Ding ding! And this battle is underway, folks. Professor Stick has come out swinging by claiming it would be impossible to fake moon landing footage back in 1969, while he simultaneously believes that people walked on the moon in 1969. So apparently, people can go to the moon, land on the moon, and walk on the moon, but it would be impossible to recreate any sort of fake footage of a moon landing.
That's exactly how it is. The technology was ready to fly to the moon, but it wasn't advanced enough to give us fake footage of a moon landing. For example, the parallel light rays, as can be seen by the shadow, couldn't have been produced by any sort of lighting back in the day. The technology wasn't there, and there weren't any special effects or anything back then as well, so the shadows couldn't have been produced by computer editing. Meanwhile, a mission to the moon, as difficult as it may sound, can be achieved through older technologies such as the ones in 1969. Mathematical calculations aren't complicated to get to the moon, unlike imaging a black hole that is, and relatively little computer processing was needed. There's a difference between engineering abilities and software technology, and they need to be considered separately when looking back in time. Moving on, here's a flat earther named Jake who narrates his thoughts over a news broadcast of the black hole image. I hope I don't get a copyright strike for showing this footage.
Wrong! This is not a flat earth channel. I'm not a flat earther. I don't even make flat earth content anymore.
Just because you don't make flat earth content anymore doesn't mean you're not a flat earther. If it makes you feel any better, I'll call you a flirther.
And as far as handing out copyright strikes, you've been making videos about me for years, and I've never once given you a copyright strike. So shut up and quit being a pansy.
I wasn't talking about you, genius. I said you were using footage from BBC. I'm more worried about them having copyright ID. Luckily, they don't. Look, if NASA and every other space agencies in the world were truly lying to us, why would they claim the previous images of black holes were simulations? Why not just say they're all real? That surely would be better at getting a lot of people to believe the existence of black holes.
Wrong! People already believed in the existence of black holes before there were any supposed real images of black holes to even look at. So if people already believed in the existence of black holes when all they had to look at were computer-generated images and simulated artist renditions, then why would NASA ever need to give us any real photographs if people already believe hook, line, and sinker, like you, that black holes already exist?
But you can't assume everyone believed black holes exist. NASA wouldn't be taking any extra steps in saying the simulated images are real instead of actively saying they're fake. There's literally no cost. And you are contradicting your own position here. Why would they even release a proclaimed real black hole image last week if it wasn't necessary,
This stunning new image shows the shadow of a supermassive black hole in the center of a far distant galaxy said to be 55 million light years away from Earth, or 300 million trillion miles away.
Yeah, let's just think of everything in miles. This is America after all.
Well, Professor Dipshit, after all, I do live in America, so therefore, yes, I do use miles.
I like to make fun of miles, because when people who use the imperial system instead of the metric to describe a scientific idea, you can tell they're not scientists, nor do they have any experience in science. Seems to fit you pretty well, I must say. Not to say it's the same case for everyone, just that tends to be a trend, I guess.
Hey y'all, I got a question. How is it that we're supposedly looking at an image from 300 million trillion miles away and or 55 million light years away? How is it we're even looking at this image? Meanwhile, we're unable to zoom in on the American flag on the moon, which is only 238,000 miles away.
You can zoom in and see the flag on the moon. You just need a really good telescope, which I don't believe is sold commercially. Yeah, literally nothing else to say here.
Wrong! Do you know that there is no telescope on Earth, not only telescopes commercially sold, but no telescope on Earth that you can look through and see anything man-made on the moon?
You're making a claim that can't be substantiated. How exactly do you know that there isn't a single telescope that could see the flag on the moon? Have you literally checked every single telescope on Earth? Because I highly doubt that. You flat earthers love to claim images are fake, but give us no actual good reason to believe they're fake. It's fake, you cry. Jesus Christ. Not to mention that the telescopes used to zoom in on the moon would obviously be different than the ones used to image the black hole. Even if we didn't have a regular light telescope, which is different than a radio telescope by the way, that could zoom in on the moon, it still wouldn't disprove the idea that radio telescopes powerful enough to image a black hole exists. It's like saying your mom can't be 160 centimeters tall because your dad is only 150. Those two things aren't relevant.
Had you went to the right websites, you could have actually read for yourself that those images that you posted, supposedly of the lunar module bases and the rovers and the flag on the moon, yeah, those images come from NASA.
Extending from your argument, the black hole image wasn't from NASA. It was produced by some lads over by your local university. Tell me a good reason to doubt them. Also, this demonizing of NASA is absolutely outrageous. I have a question that I've been dying to hear a flat earther answer for a while. NASA and the US government aren't the only ones involved in space exploration. A bunch of other countries also have their own space programs, including China and Russia. Why is it that you idiots believe that all these countries are colluding together, holding in one massive giant conspiracy, and there hasn't been a single word of a whistleblower or anything that has come out to expose the truth? How could you possibly believe that such a conspiracy theory exists, requiring millions of people from different countries to be on the same page?
Like I said, you will never see with your eyes, even using a telescope, the flag on the moon. You won't ever see it. Let me show you how easy this is. I have magic fairy farts in this coffee can. Now here's the thing. I'm the only person in the world who knows how to obtain magic fairy farts. The reason being, I'm the only one who has the equipment to go find the magic fairies.
Of course, if there's anyone out there that would come up with such an immature analogy, it'd be you. You're closer to 40 than I am, you know. Anyway, your analogy is flawed because of one key difference. There isn't just one person that is handling all the claims about space, black holes, and the Earth being spherical. There are millions of people, including people from other countries and people who don't work for the government. Regular people, just like you and me. Please tell me how a postdoctorate in university is somehow an agent from NASA. Not saying that this is the only good reason to believe in them. That's more so just the fact that all the evidence is available for us to observe ourselves. That anyone could perform these experiments given the proper equipment and education.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever with your own eyes seen a black hole in outer space?
You know, you could at least read up on why you can't directly observe a black hole. Even more so, the answer to why you can't see a black hole with your naked eye is even more obvious. Good luck trying to see something that is 55 million light years away and absorbs all forms of radiation. By your logic, bacteria and viruses don't exist. Proteins, glucose, any molecule really don't exist because you can't see them with your naked eye. Well, see, those things I named are simply too small to see without any special instruments. Similarly, black holes can't be seen without any special instruments as well.
Wrong! I did not mention seeing a black hole with a naked eye without using a telescope. I never said that once, not at all.
Fair enough. In that case, what exactly do you mean by seeing with your eyes? Certain things we have to rely on technology to see, whether it's bacteria or the black hole on your computer screen. Your computer is just as much of a piece of technology as the microscopes are, so you discriminate against computers but not against microscopes. It's so dumb because you're making arbitrary boundaries to determine if you can trust something or not that are based on absolutely nothing. The black hole, for example, was compiled together on a computer. The only way to actually, quote, see it with your own eyes was on the computer screen, even for the scientists that photographed it. This image was then copied so that it's easy for other people to see on the internet. Again, your rules are arbitrary and you define them randomly only to fit your worldview.
The establishment, be it government, mainstream media, mainstream science, what have you, the establishment is trying to shove evolution and the Big Bang Theory down our throats.
Okay, well, for the Big Bang, I can see how it can somewhat tie in with black holes, but what does evolution have anything to do with this? I mean, that just seems completely irrelevant to this latest scientific discovery.
Well, a science cuck like you should already know that the Big Bang Theory and the theory of evolution go hand in hand. The same people who push and believe that the magical Big Bang created everything push and believe evolution.
That's actually completely false. These are two different fields of science. One is astrophysics, the other is biology. Different people work in these fields. Someone who studies the Big Bang, for example, wouldn't have any expertise on developing the theory of evolution. Very, very different topics with no crossovers.
Both evolution and the Big Bang go hand in hand and are pushed by the same people. Like you, Professor Cuckboy.
I'm a science proponent, but I took no part in developing either of those theories. Again, they were developed separately and independently. But guess what? They're both true, which is why I work on my channel to debunk idiots like you who think you know better than people who have actually went to college. Alright, that's going to be all I'm responding to. I cut out a lot of the content because either it was irrelevant or that Jake just kept repeating himself over and over again. If you watched the original video, you'd understand. He also tries to insult me a lot at the end, so it doesn't add anything new to the conversation. Now, this is where I depart, and perhaps I'll revisit this topic again in the future. Thank you to my loyal patrons, especially Fireshark, Shirkan, and Elliot. See you next week.